It's been a while, hasn't it? I think it's been like a month, maybe a little bit more. I've been super like locked in with finishing up a first like vertical slice demo version of the game with but a lot of things actually haven't changed over the last month. So today what I want to do is, instead of working toward anything new, because I'm kind of like taking a few weeks, just taking it easy, right? What is engage with your audience? Members only stream. We're not going to do that though, are we? So I'm just kind of polishing up some things, refactoring some code, just like easy stuff that doesn't really add anything significant, doesn't really like change anything, hopefully. But stuff that's needed to be done for a while. I don't really have necessarily a list of things to do. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to start by opening a writer here. And I've got like 1,000 lines of code in this one file. And a lot of which is already commented out. So we're going to start by removing those, because clearly I'm not using those anymore. And then we're actually going to go through, starting in our character file, seeing if there's any like variables that I don't end up using anymore or whatever, and seeing what other like compiling errors result from not having those anymore. So starting off with removing the commented out code that we have here. Like I have a couple of mappings here that I am no longer using. It's just a bunch of this type of stuff. There's check ledge grab. Huh. Oh, that's part of the jumping ability. So one of the things that I did is I segmented out the abilities or the jumps. I have a couple of different jumps in the game now. I think most of that is also new for you guys. But I segmented that out into different abilities. So I have the normal jump and a double jump, wall jump, a automatic like ledge grab jump, which I 1,000% stole from Silksong. But that's so smooth in Silksong, just like being boosted up a ledge if you just don't make it, instead of how you had to do it in like Hollow Knight, or how I did it. In Hollow Knight, you just used a wall jump. I used to have like this wall grabbing, like ledge hanging mechanic. But ledge hanging didn't really like offer anything, since I didn't have like a way to like shimmy across the ledge or anything, and I didn't really like plan on implementing that either. So just having it automatically like do a little bit of like a extra jump when you hit a ledge it makes things so much smoother. But that's part of the jumping ability now, so we don't need to do that in here anymore. This I need to look into. I think this is the proper code. I think this is what we want to have. So yeah, here we have cycle lock on, right? I also have a bit of a cold coming on, so very dry throat, very stuffed nose. It's October, all right? Fall season. So this is the cycling full lock on. I reworked a lot of my input mappings, which means that I don't have the ability anymore to cycle the lock on. One moment. All right, didn't want to deafen everybody by sneezing directly into the microphone. I don't have the ability anymore to cycle lock on in the up and down direction. It just purely goes left and right now, and that is because I actually have. I used to use the D-pad for that, but I have different things mapped to the up and down arrows now for the D-pad. So the up and down don't actually do anything anymore, which actually means that this doesn't need to be a vector 2D anymore. This could just, especially since this is just the X, this could just be a float. and we could check this. I think I'm still using the triggers for that. No, I think I'm actually using the bumpers, like L and R1, which means that they are binary buttons, not axes. So I might just be able to check whether or not this is less than or greater than 0. Let's actually check if that is the case. Never seen you live. Your videos are great and very helpful. Very glad to hear it. I haven't been live for a hot minute. It's been like a month since the last time I was properly. Let's not have that on the main monitor. Like properly live, because I've been busy actually like working on the game a lot. I don't think I need that open up actually. So yeah, I'm just getting back into it. I was supposed to do it last week, streaming again, but I just didn't get to it because frankly, I was just kind of tired. And having broken the streak of streaming twice a week, it's easy to just extend that by another week, right? So yeah, we're back now. We have somewhere in here the inputs, which I assume is going to be in player inputs. There we have the default. So I also have my input now finally split up into a couple of different mapping contexts, which works a lot better. So this is everything default. So we have input action menu context left. So that should actually not be in the default, I don't think. That should be in context. Why is this small? What the fuck? Scaling is a little weird. So these are the context menu shortcuts, which give you bottom, left. Oh, these are shortcuts. Hold on, these are the shortcuts. I'll show you what those actually like mean in a moment. So these are face buttons. So that actually does make sense. It's always so context left does need to be there. I don't think I'm using cancel menu anymore because I'm using Common UI. I finally switched over to Common UI, and it's been a massive pain in the ass in some ways, but it's also made certain other things so much easier. It's just there's a couple of like input related things that I ended up having trouble with, and just converting a lot of my code to now work with like an activatable widget stack. That was a bit of a pain, but now that everything is running on Common UI, it's actually kind of nice. But that means that I don't need menu cancel and menu confirm anymore because that's taken care of by Common UI. Open menu, yeah, I think we do want to still have that. Move and look, obviously, we want to still have here. Okay, so cycle lock on. We have Q and E for left and right. I'm using the right shoulder and left shoulder at the moment. But I think this might make more sense. Hold on a moment. My goodness, I hate. Where is this stuff? Let's see. There we go. Hopefully it doesn't need me to restart the engine now. Sometimes it does do that. I just need to get an Xbox controller to test with. Or implement like native stuff for the PlayStation controller itself with like raw inputs. That would also work out fairly well. Yeah, so why I wanted that is because I want this to be... Oh, that's already the shoulder button. Yeah, so trigger access, it's already the shoulder button. So these are just binary buttons. So what we can do is, I think the same thing that I have here with Q and E actually, is Q just has a modifier where it negates. And I think this does the same thing. So this has a modifier on the left where it negates. So what we can do, instead of checking this as a vector 2, we can just check this as a float. Makes sense that we would need that to be a float as well. And then we can just, I guess only if we're locked on, that makes sense. And then we can check look axis vector is greater than 0.5. No, okay, so what we're actually going to do, I was thinking of compacting this into a single line, but the issue is I was going to check whether or not it was greater than 0. And if it's not greater than 0, just execute the other one. But that has the issue. Well, actually, we can actually... let's keep it the way it is now. Because this way, if it is exactly 0, which it might trigger when you like release the button with a value of 0, it doesn't do either, which is quite important. So yeah, that's good. Then we have cycle lock on, well, down we're not using anymore, only left and right. So I guess we can keep the code if we want to, but it's easy to just like get it back if we need to, I guess. I don't really see myself using this anymore because we have a limited room on a controller. And I need those buttons for other things. So not really going to be like a thing we do. But cycling lock on to the right and the left we want to keep. Which actually can probably be compacted into a single function, to be honest. Because now that we only do left and right, we can just make a direction to a look in and just give that in as a bool may. Also, we have some to-do stuff here. But I don't think... Wait, what? Okay, this is something we need to take a look at. Well, actually, we'll do that right now. I was going to say we'll circle back to that, but it's good to just take that into account. So can I open up like a new tab with this? I'm not using this anyway, so it's fine. With like this right here, so that I can have them side by side. That's helpful. Gonna zoom out a little bit. I know that it's annoying for you guys when I zoom out because it's hard to read, but I kind of need to be able to read things myself. So this is cycle lock on left, and we're gonna compare that to what right does. So both of them start off by doing a sphere trace, and we check whether or not we are not locked on or there's no closest enemy, or nearby enemies is 0. Then we return. That makes sense. We get the player controller, we get the closest actor screen position, we project world location to screen, then we take the nearest, what's called nearest left distance in both cases, so you know. Then we take the nearest distance and we set that to a maximum float, which, man, fucking Blueprint should have this as well. I don't think Blueprint has this, right? Does anybody in chat know if Blueprint has like a thing where you can just get a max value float? Or just a float with a ridiculously large value? Because this is a macro that just, I don't know, maybe it actually... Yeah, so it just gives you a super big value, the biggest value that a float can have. So that whenever you compare anything to it, it's always going to be less than. But it's a good starting point to make sure that if you're going to be iterating over like a list, comparing whether or not something is smaller, you you know that your initial value isn't going to be like messing with that. I think there's also like a float min, which just does the same, but with like the negative direction. Yeah, so just the same value, but with like a negative before it. Super useful. I don't think Blueprint has those. Which is weird because it's literally just a static number, I think. So, fuck do I know. Okay, so then we for loop over the actors for the nearby enemies. If the actor is hidden, we ignore it. Which is important because we pre-place all of our enemies and they get activated through spawners. Screen position, then we get the screen position of the current actor that we're checking. Then we check the actor position being less than. Okay, so this is where we would need to rework some code to make this into a single function. Because this is checking if it is less than for one function and greater than for the other function. But that should be fairly easy to. If we just make this cycle lock on instead of cycle lock on left, we'll remove the declaration for those two as well, and we add in a bool check left, something like that. Right? No, left. That's a bad joke. Come on, copy paste. So if we check left, what we do here is, I guess, is there a good way to do this? Aside from just having the same code under each other twice? Because the initial thing which you might want to do is just like if check left, we run this version, which is this. And if not check left, we just check that, right? Because that's the exact same thing. So if like actor screen position dot x is greater than screen closest screen position dot x, we then add it in. Then we check the distance. If that distance is now greater than nearest left distance, which nearest left distance is set up there. And close enemy is active. Yeah, so that should actually be that. Now, is there a easier, more compact way of doing this where I don't have the same like block of code twice? Well, first and foremost, I don't think we need this anymore. So we can get rid of like this entire function over here, which actually means that we can get rid of get rid of this. Well, not get rid of it, but Ryder, are you gonna crash on me? Like Unreal crashes on me all the time. I'm used to that, but are you gonna crash on me now? Because that would be super fucked. And here that would be false. And then, oh, this is the same. Okay, so that might not be ideal. Whoops. We'll just call this cycle lock onto new. I don't think it should be an issue that they're named the same thing because they have like different parameters, obviously. So strictly speaking, just an overload function. But it'll be confusing if that implies that they're similar functions, and it's really not. Well, they work towards the same goal, I guess. Okay, so that, and then in the input mappings, we also want to probably, well, actually, no, in the input mappings, this is fine because we have that cycle lock on, which calls this cycle lock on to new. And this is the thing that gets mapped to the input. So that seems fine to me. I still don't love how we wrote this. I'm just kind of thinking, is there any way? I guess it's not that big a deal. If we just do it like this. Yeah, that's probably fine, honestly. This can stay the same. New lock on, disable, press jump. I don't even know what this does, man. I mean, it's that press jump to false. Oh, this is my coyote time, I think. Well, no, it's input buffering. That's what it is. So this is my input buffering. Yeah. Find closest enemy. That can stay the same. Clear nearby enemy. Can stay the same. Update nearby enemies. Nothing changed about that either. Reset combo. Sure. There's some code here that hasn't been used in a while, but everything in game seems to work fine, so I'm just going to get rid of it. I probably should also comment this code a little bit better. That's the lock on tick. That's pretty much untouched, I think. This stop wall slide doesn't do anything anymore, so I'll get rid of it. Then we have the start wall slide, because the wall slide itself is now like a contained ability in a different class. The wall jump obviously is part of that as well. The swing jump to start swinging still is something that exists on here. I don't know if that makes sense. It might. Does that really need to exist on here? Well, yeah, actually, it does, because this is going to be called by the grappling point when we try to interact with it. And the reason that we can't put this inside of the ability is because it needs to try to run the ability. And if I don't have the ability, obviously it doesn't run it. Then again, the grappling point also already checks whether or not the ability is present to even like allow you to interact with it in the first place. So this could maybe move to that. And then make the grappling hook just the thing that starts the ability. Something to something to consider moving out of here. But for now, this is fine. The movement code obviously does need to exist in here. Air jump is a double jump. That's now its own ability class. End jump does need to stay on here because it's no matter what kind of jump, just needs to send through an event. Now, this. Kind of feel like we should wrap this in as its own function, to be honest, because this is in begin play, and it's kind of messy to have all this in begin play. So we can... Why are you complaining? Implemented? What the fuck are you talking about, man? Might just need to build. I need to reorganize where everything is in this file as well, because holy shit. I don't think I'm using these anymore either. Huh. Let's see, this can be in private, that's fine. Void update last save location. Which is just a timer running a lambda, but doesn't really need to do anything else. Right, that should work. Then again, we could just make the timer run. If we're going to make it a separate function, we could just make this a function of it. It doesn't really matter. The only reason that this would maybe matter, actually, it is probably good to make that its own function, because now, yeah. Change my mind. We're going to... put this in there. And this is going to go back into begin play, because now what we can do, instead of it just being on a timer, it'll still be on a timer where it runs once a second or so. But we'll also be able to explicitly call it. So we're probably going to move this into being a public function, or at least blueprint private accessible. So going back into begin play. First delay. Right, then instead of this being a lambda, what we do is this object. Why did I call Action RPG project character as a class name? That's stupid. Okay, instead of wall jump, we'll just do it like this. Update last save location. And that'll be a bit better. So start update save location timer loop. And then we have kill player. This is actually something that we're going to need to take a look at as well in a moment, because in an effort to just keep on working and keep on going, I have two variables in my level loading system that keep track of the current level. And one of them exists in C++, and one of them exists in Blueprint. And at some point, something didn't work, so I just made a new variable and tried to have everything like set to that. But obviously that's dumb. That's super stupid. So we'll need to take a look at what this kill player does, because kill player sets the game instance death level name to our current level, which is actually called next level, which is, again, stupid. And then the death location to last save location, that makes sense. Death XP, our current player XP. lock onto false, and non-player kill broadcast. So we need to change up a couple of things in the game instance for that, most likely. But that's something to look at in a moment. I'm going to get rid of those levels as well, because those aren't values that I use anymore, because I switched over to a like full skill system, where skills are just being saved as being locked or unlocked, and the stats as a whole are getting saved instead. I might change that around a little bit, the stats as a whole being saved, but either way, I'm now relying on like a skill tree system where skills are represented by a like ID, with information whether or not like unlocked or not. So I don't need to keep track of a integer for the level anymore. All this seems pretty good. Eventually I'm gonna get rid of this rope, but that's not for right now. Okay, the actual scary bit is going into the header file and changing things, because this was a lot of code. We're down to only 700 lines of code. The header file also is still 500 lines, somehow, and doesn't actually contain code. So I don't know what the hell is going on there. Jack ledge grab, we got rid of, I think. So we can... we can get rid of that. Ledge jump power. Is this used literally anywhere? It probably... Actually, I don't think it is. I'm just going to get rid of it by commenting it out first. Because I don't think it is. I think my ledge jump now works just off of the normal like jump height variable. Can dash... Is this being used anywhere? I don't think it is. I think because dashing is now a ability. It's been for a while, but this is one of those variables that I think is just kind of stuck around for way too long. Okay, but is it the only use? Do I have like can dash? I'm just gonna assume on this one that we're good to go, and get rid of this variable as well. So I don't think I use that anymore, because dash is an ability that checks whether or not it can run based on like gameplay tags and stuff now. So I think that should be good. So that's all the movement stuff. That actually, I guess technically, we want these dash particles. I guess we want to have like a public section within each like pragma region. Maybe. Yes, let's actually do it that way. So within each region, we start with a private section. I don't know why you are being, a bitch about that. Thank you. Because this all was already within a private section, right? Yeah. This needs to be public. Wait, why is this a Niagara component? Why? Is that a thing? That I put all the way the fuck down here? That should be in my components. Well, I might as well. No use in keeping that public section, I guess. Yeah, so that should be up in my voice cracks. That should be up in my list of components, which exists up here. All right, that's the movement stuff. Mostly done. Then, combat. Toggle lock-on definitely should be within combat. Cycle lock-on to new sphere trays nearby enemies. I don't know why there's so much white space there. Clear nearby enemies, update nearby enemies. Like, all this just needs to stay there, really. The only difference being is that this... Look, everything here is already private. I guess. So we have our enemy search. Radius. Everything else here. This is actually organized better than I thought it would be already. Not gonna lie. Reset input enabled seems like something that needs to exist within like a section to do with inputs. So let's just yeet that up there and we'll take a look at that in a moment. Yeah, these are going to be an issue, right? Because they... Oh no, they're not. Never mind. But there is going to be an issue with these because this is being called from different objects, I'm pretty sure. So we do need to... It's not giving any errors yet, but it's gonna. This is gonna need to be public. Clear nearby enemies, definitely something that also other things need to be able to do. Find closest enemy is maybe something that is useful to be publicly available. I mean, it's not even blueprint exposed. That's probably actually fine. Sphere trays nearby enemies. It's blueprint call, but I don't know where the fuck I'm using this in blueprint, but I'll just keep it as public. These can stay private because they're just implementations for inputs, and then toggle lock on. I'm a little confused as to I thought there would need to be a U function. Maybe not. That seems pretty good. Yes. Okay, so that's the combat section done. I think that's it, yeah. Then we have the update last save location. Where are we going to put that? Is that like combat related? I don't think that's necessarily combat related. That's another one of those things where I'm just gonna put it up top here somewhere and we'll see at some point. It's just gonna be two sorts. Let me also actually put my thing to live chat just in case anything is getting filtered. I don't think usually it filters anything, but wouldn't want to be missing anything. All right. yeah, we've got a bunch of movement related stuff. We've also got this like magic input, special input. I don't think we need to be worrying about that anymore. I don't think jump triggered is a event that I use anymore. At some point I put that in. I don't think we're using that anymore. So let's make a pragma region for movements. And it's just pragma and region. Movement. All right, I'm going to put the last known save location in the movement thing. Also, the jump type I'm going to get rid of because we don't need that anymore. So yeah, we have the... I mean, there's also inputs that I have here. I have a weapon appearing and vanishing thing. I'm going to keep that, I think. But that should probably actually be in combat. There's no reason that that should be in... Well, there's an argument to be made for it being an input, I guess. And that seems like something that probably should be in public as well. Because I think there's potentially different things that need to activate that. That's probably going to be taken care of by the like main combo ability that I have. Yeah, the bool iframes we have a gameplay tag for these days. Again, that's a thing that's probably been there for like years at this point. I think that's pre-gameplay ability system, which is a while ago. It's been a hot minute. I'll also zoom back in actually a little bit. But this is movement. So let's put that in movement. And those can be... I think in public. Because of the other things that use this as well, I'm pretty sure. Jump input timer, press jump. I don't know. I think this is from input buffering. I think this is fairly new code. Let's take a look, find usages. Enable press jump. Press jump is true. Invalidate jump timer. And then we set another jump timer to disable it back to false. So what this does is when we land, it checks that specific rule. And if that's true, that means that we had an input. And then immediately jumps again. It's just input buffering that buffers our input effectively for 0.4 seconds. So that's part of the inputs. Didn't we have like an input region here at some point? I had a comment somewhere that said input. Guess we need to just make a pragma region for that real quick. Is it worth it making a different thing for input and for movement? I don't know. Kind of seems, maybe not. I don't know. New lock-on. What does new lock-on even do? It just sets a new lock. Probably, yeah, I could have figured that out on my own. It's going to go into the combat functions. Open gameplay menu. You see, this is an input thing that isn't actually like related at all in any sort of way to like movement. So it really makes sense to make this two different things, because this is enabling and disabling jump, jump timer, press jump. That can all go into movement. This wants to be in public. These don't need to be in public. Neither does this. Then we have being locked on, the closest enemy. I'm going to put player XP in combat as well. These want to be in public though. So I'm actually going to get rid of this division like this, because it's getting divided now by private and public. At which point I will put my variables first and then my functions second. So vars and functions. By the end of today, we're going to have like one file that's well organized, but we'll have one file that is well organized, which is insane for me. From that moment on, we do need to like try to keep this somewhat up to date though, which is not going to be a thing that we can do probably. This likely wants to be public because it's like blueprint callable. So we're making good leeway though. Loading screen glass. Is this... I don't think this is a thing that we even use anymore. I think I've moved that entirely into blueprint. Yeah, nothing. Nothing at all. Once again, nothing. User widget. Find usages, nothing. Magic menu open, I think that's also nothing, so we can get rid of that. Current weapon index. We don't have a weapon system anymore, so bye. The weapon system has been changed into one weapon that can be potentially augmented. So I used to have a thing where I could cycle through weapons as you unlock them. I actually decided that it would be probably more fun and also easier on development if it was one weapon that had different abilities. Because then I only have one weapon that only needs like shader differences or like visual effect differences. And it's a lot more reasonable to like reuse animations with just slight tweaks if we do it that way. Because we're going to be like reasonable about the scale of what we're making here. This is way overscoped as is. We don't need this array of weapons anymore. Oh, this is the input region. Well, I guess we just move everything in here. Why is begin play in there? Begin play. Can you please just go hang out up top here? I'll be back with you at some point. Yeah, so we have the entire like input region here, which starts here. So we have move. We also have tick for some reason in there. Again, this has been very chaotic and just bad for a while. I don't know, possessed by. Oh, that's not even within. It is within input. Input is just fucking huge, man. Where does input start? Did I just scroll past it without realizing, or is it really this big? Where does input start? Oh, this is animation region. We've got some other combat variable stuff. We'll take a look at that in a moment. Oh, this is the start of input. So where does input end? Oh, all of this is just input, apparently. Which it's not, because this is enemy near screen border. That is very much a combat thing. So, let's see. That's probably a private combat thing. So we have public, private. Throw that in there. And move back to where we were. I'm gonna get rid of these two. Okay, move 1000% can exist in here. That's in a protected section. I guess that can just go into private. We'll split up private and protected in a moment. But I guess that's part of movement. Oh, I already fucked up. I already fucked up. That's how quickly you can fuck these things up. And jump. I don't think we use that anymore at all. No, we do. Never mind. And jump can go into fucking, I guess, movement as well. Set up player input component. Again, that's one of those things that just can go hang out up here. And then we have lock camera movement. That's a good question. Where are we going to put that? I might actually make a separate section specifically for camera related variables. Well, no. Because most of the camera variables will set actually in Blueprint into a variable asset for the camera, because we're using the gameplay camera system now. So it probably doesn't make a lot of sense. So this probably, it's camera movement for combat related stuff. Effectively, it's just whether or not we have lock on. That's true, isn't it, though? Oh no, it's lock camera movement. So that's being used for nothing, actually. I think we... Oh, no, we do have that. But it is part of the lock on camera system. So that can hang out here in this, and we are reading that from Blueprint, so I might as well keep it public. Okay. What kind of systems do you do in C++? It's a bit of a a difficult line to draw sometimes. What it comes down to usually is stuff that takes a lot of logic and a lot of math is faster to do in C++ because it's easier to like quickly type out. Stuff that requires any visuals or any timing is usually faster to do in Blueprint. On top of that, I also, if you like have your like class hierarchy, like if you just go into Blueprint, right? As much as possible within like your class hierarchy. So you have got your like actor, and then you've got like your, somewhere in here you have pawn, and then character, and then your own extension of character. And from there you might have like a player extension of that class and an enemy extension of that class, and then you start like making Blueprint stuff. Generally, I try to only have the like actual, with exceptions, the actual things that I put into the world being Blueprint that implements like any like timing related stuff, and that's actually where you like assign assets to like your components and stuff. But as much as possible, the layers above that staying as long as possible within C++, because it is entirely possible that at some point you might need to like grab a value from any sort of object, from any sort of class in C++ for whatever reason, because there's something that you're making in C++. And if those are components or those are variables that you've added within a Blueprint class of a specific type of thing, you can't easily access those in C++ anymore. You can like work in weird workarounds, like making a function that then returns that or whatever, but it's kind of bothersome to work with. But as a general like split, things that require timing are Blueprint, things that require math are C++. That's like in one sentence the breakdown. But it's more complicated than that, of course. Anyway, possessed by. This also probably can just move its code into begin play, to be honest, but we'll see. Just gonna put that up there for now. And then I removed the white space, so now it's annoying too. There we go. It's probably actually good to keep some white space there. Update lock on and lock on tick. Both of those are combat related stuff. So let's go back into region combats. And I think those were unprotected before, so they're probably fine within private as well. So they can hang out there. Fname wall slide. What? No, seriously, what? Is not used. Okay, no idea what the hell's going on with that. Wall slide rotation. I think this is also moved into the ability. Yeah, let's get rid of that. This might be used in Blueprint at some point. So let's just, I think we've replaced that with a gameplay tag. So I'm just going to comment that out because I'm not entirely sure. This is start wall slide. I think all of that is, yeah, not even implemented anymore, so we can get rid of that. Wall jump also. We have a bool for is wall sliding, and we have a bool for wall slide. Like, what is going on here, man? I think this also has been replaced by an integer. Swing jump has been removed, I think. Yeah, max double jumps is 1. Which actually should be 0, I think, but whatever. So okay. Let's move these into movement, movements, movement, movements, 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 and then we have unlockable. Technically, those are all movements as well. But I think I might make a separate section just for these, because I might have non-movement related stuff at some point. Surely they're all going to be movement related though. They might not be. Let's do this the other way around. Let's start by putting things into private, and then we'll move them into public as needed. So like this wall slide needs to be in public variables. Post swing jump. These two can be public. Might be better to make getters for these anyway. Yeah, so again, I'm sorry that I'm starting back up my streaming with something that is hopefully not too boring, but relatively boring, but it's just something that like needed to be done, and I didn't really want to like jump back in with like a big topic right away. So fucking here we are. Yeah, so there we have the like unlockable abilities. I don't know. Are we going to put those in a separate section? Are we going to put those in movement? I think for now I'm probably just going to put them in movement. This is all within a public section, yes. That kind of makes sense. All this is still grapple steer speed, is swinging, allow camera movement, all still movement. Wait, did we have another is swinging already? Maybe not. Okay, this and this both needs to move to public variables. I guess if this is not blueprint readable, might as well stay in private, but it needs to go up to the variables if we're going to do that. This is blueprint exposed. All this is blueprint exposed, so all those can go live. In there. Now I'll probably sort these with like subcategories at some point or whatever. Because you can see it still's ending up pretty messy, but air jump. I think I got rid of that. So there we go. Do we actually use this anywhere at any point anymore? Yeah. So that's the thing. Do I want to be able to lock onto projectiles to hit them back? I think the answer is just going to be like a pretty straight up no. But I'm going to just keep this around because I don't really want to decide much like game design stuff today. I just want the code. Like on a technical level, the code should be like not shit. So this is within combats. These are public. I think this can be a private member. Attack, can attack. I think this is another one of those things where can attack has been around for so long that I don't know. Like this can definitely go. that I don't know whether or not it's actually like super important. I think it might not be. Because is that the only reference to it? Yeah, I think that's the only use of can attack in this entire class. It doesn't mean that it's not used anywhere else, but because it is blueprint exposed. But I think it should be fine. Because let's take a look, because I think actually that is a thing that we are using somewhere quite important. Because if I go into my gameplay abilities here, and we have the main combo, I think it's called somewhere in here. Player main combo. I think this uses can attack. It uses the gameplay tag for can attack. Okay, that's interesting, because that means we're adding and removing those as loose gameplay tags. We're not using the bool anymore for any of that. Anything that looks like a bool setter in here? No. Okay, so that means I think we can get rid of this. The attack counter 1000% I still use. It's very important. Also should be in the public variables, because that keeps track of where we are in our combo, obviously. But I don't think this is a thing we use. Yeah. Because we don't have a hanging thing anymore anyway. We have like this attack trigger. This used to like be pre-programmed in the animation blueprint, having all of the things just as animation sequences that planned by a bool, instead of just being sensible and using animation montages. Jump trigger. I don't think we use that anymore either. I'm gonna double check just to be sure. But I think that's one of those things that's also long gone. Oh, actually, we do use jump trigger. Well, I guess we're keeping that. This is why you check these things. I fully expect a lot of things not to compile once we're done with the C++ file. I guess that's part of the movement variables, and that should be in public. So, anybody care to tell me why the fuck both of these exist? Because that doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? This one used at all? This one? Oh my god. Oh, those are two different things. Well, fair enough. Then I guess we just have the jump function, which is part of movements. Gonna put that up top, because everything else under it effectively is sub-functions for jumping. Okay, then we have combo starters, combo finishers, attack abilities. Those are handled by the actual combo ability now. We have on loading screen added. I think we... I don't know if we use that anymore. I think these are being handled by the actual ability stuff. All right. We're going to be moving into like the components here and stuff in a moment anyway, which all obviously just maintain their position at the top of the file. So what I'm going to do now is, first and foremost, I'm going to be happy that we're like actually 100 lines smaller within this file, which is great. I'm going to try to recompile this to see if there's any issues in any other files, because I am 1000% that there's going to be. There's going to be issues somewhere in some other file. And if not in C++, the moment I start playing in Blueprint, it's going to also scream at me that there's stuff that's going to be broken. So before we break more stuff, let's fix the stuff that we just broke, which I don't know what it's going to be yet, but it's going to be something. And it'll take a moment. There we go. That's the first issue. New lock-on cannot access private member declared in. Okay, so what is the code that actually runs this? When we so when an enemy dies, it updates the player's lock-on, so that just needs to be public. So this just moves from functions private into functions public. This can go. That, man, that's again a bit of code that's been so there for so long. All right, let's try again. If it compiles now, I'll actually be super surprised. I'm kind of impressed. Well, so far, okay. That's neat. Did not expect that necessarily. I expected more trouble. But the actual trouble is probably going to start now when I press this button. Yeah, there we go. Kind of expected there to be some issues there. Let's work from, like, actually we can open up all error blueprints. That's probably better. All right. Dark Shadow, you yourself have troubles compiling. Why? Oh, stop wall slide. Okay, so this just hasn't existed for a while. Allow air jump. Hopefully that's not an issue. Okay, that's compile error 1 solved. Could not find variable weapons in Action RPG get weapons. That's fine because that doesn't need to be saved anymore. So we can just kind of skip over this. And then I assume it's... This doesn't do anything anymore, so... Just get rid of that entire loop. So far, this is actually going fairly well. Wait, what? On was damage unable determined expected signature. Is delegate pin connect? I didn't even touch this class, man. Oh, this, yeah, we changed the thing for that. I didn't do that today. I did that like a week ago. I don't know why it's an issue now. I guess it recompiled this file because it had an error in it. So we, okay. Not necessarily something that I was expecting to be looking at today, but sure. I think it's in the base attribute set. We have this was damaged. And that doesn't exist anymore for some fucking reason. Why not? Because I believe that is fairly important. Because that should then check if the thing is dead. Yeah, that is pretty important. Why does not exist anymore? Is it because I moved that to the player attribute set? Because that would be dumb. MP updated, MP updated. Am I just looking over it? Oh, I just changed the name to HP updated. Well, that makes sense, doesn't it? Assign HP updated. It's not a big deal. Just change the name there to be more descriptive, and it kind of caused a like mini panic attack there. The jump resetter, yeah, that makes sense. You allow air jump. Thing doesn't need to be checked anymore, I guess. Because really what they should be doing is it just should be setting... Oh, yeah, I don't think I actually would have used these that much to begin with. So it's probably fine that they don't work that well. The get is hang in stay. We don't use that anymore, so that's just fine to altogether go away. A wall slide we use as a tag, so probably don't need to bull anymore there. Knocked back, yeah, falling, that's all fine. Look at his little broken wrist. And then sword attack base, something is broken there. That does kind of worry me. Get attack abilities. Oh, that's combo length. I don't need that anymore. Actually, hold on a moment, because I need to remove anything that uses this. Which is nothing. Fantastic. All right. Then we have the down attack, which is the same thing. Then we have the sword along dash, which also is just this issue. Yeah, so this is the issue with having three classes that are effectively the same code. Probably should combine these into some kind of parent-child hierarchy. Okay, on damaged event is going to change to assign HP updated. So this is the reason that I changed these things around, because I now have a separate HP we have all this. I have a separate HP update thing. And then I have assign max HP updated. So that I can take finally all of my code running my HP stuff out of the tick event of my UI. because it's not that big of a deal, but it's also not great. So, I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if everything is hooked up yet on the like C++ side about that, but I guess we'll see in a moment. Because we also, like, everything we just changed, the fact that it now compiles for the most part doesn't mean that it works. And I don't have the... Oh, we can just change this to the player attribute sets, and then we can assign to MP updated as well. Isn't that just great? And then assign max MP updated. I kind of feel like we maybe should just also like save out a reference to the attribute set itself here. That might make sense to do. Do we have like an update MP just like set mana? Yes, we do. To be fair, it's probably better to just do this instead. I don't know if it's better, but it's like a little bit more clear, a bit more clean, at least. Probably less clear, to be fair, more clean though. Max HP updates, set mana, and max mana. Alrighty. And that compiles as well now. So everything should now largely work. Which means that nothing is going to work. Game starts up. I can move. I can attack. I can jump. I can double jump. I think this is the wall jump thing. I can wall jump. I can down attack, which is very ugly at the moment. I can grapple. All my movement seems to work. Oh, this is the first time in the last hour and a half that we actually are in engine now. My HP isn't visible, so we'll need to look into that in a moment. But I have this context menu now, which is what I use the D-pad for. So when you're on attack, you'll like actually attack. But when you're on magic, you won't attack, but it'll try to open up the magic menu. The same with items. For some reason, I can't dash. So we'll need to look into that as well. Because that's kind of weird. Oh, dash is just on a different button. And we also, I should remap this. I have these shortcuts for different things that you can equip in the character menu. So that's in here, in the character menu, we have different charms, just equipables, and the shortcuts. So I can equip a potion. And then when again, these are now mapped to the same button as dash, which is dumb. But I can try to use the potion, and it'll only let me use the potion if I can actually, like, well, use the potion. No shit. But now that I'm damaged, I can use the potion. So I've got, like, that context menu, and I think... Well, it actually is an issue, because I don't have any potions equipped, so it shouldn't let me use potions. That's something to take a look at a later date. But that is part of like the inventory, so I actually should be like equipping potions before it lets me use those. And then in the items, I can see the items that I have equipped, and I can use those, or at least try to use those as we want. So I have that context menu. It's a pretty last minute addition, which is why it's ugly. But that's how all that works. So yeah, my HP doesn't... Oh my god. So there's some stuff. I'm just gonna click that away. My HP. That's the most important thing because that's not getting set properly at the moment. And that is because it's not getting updated, question mark. Because this runs on constructs where it does all this fancy stuff. It's actually binding mana twice, so don't need to do that. But we also need to max HP and max MP. Need to be set once on begin play, or at least on construct. So that we actually... okay, that's worrying. Oh, that makes sense. So it gets the... Oh, I already actually am using a variable. Is that the right one? Because there might just be something going wrong there. That might just be a... Oh, that's getting from the player. Now, okay, that's definitely not wrong then. Let's, every time we add an HP segment, I mean, obviously it's not adding any. Yeah. So when we run this, do you have a value yet? You should. Yeah, you do. Okay. Do you have a value? That's 0. Okay, why do I have 0 HP at the start of my playthrough? That's kind of weird. Default player attributes. Health. Base value should be 4. But why is it 0 though? Just checking if the current value and the base value don't align. No, they are both 0. Is the attribute set not like properly initialized? Does that take like a tick? Ooh, that doesn't bode well, does it? Is valid. Also, ambulance noises outside. That's false. That's not good. That's very not good. Why is that false? Have to imagine that it just takes a moment to set up. So what if this isn't the real solution in my opinion, but what if we just delay by a tick? Well, that seems to solve it. good enough for me. Does it, like, actually... okay. So that might just be because it is dealing a metric fuck ton of damage. Because this is not a enemy, so I am just... Yeah, it's dealing 5 damage at the time. Add delay set to 0. Does that also just delay it for 1 tick? I mean, just, like, there literally is a node delay until next tick, so... I mean, that's probably fine, right? So you also definitely should only be dealing 1 damage. Base damage 1, yes, okay. So that seems... Yeah, to work. Cool. Strangely, nothing seems like super broken, which is actually kind of worrying me, because that means that I'm maybe like overlooking something, which is scary. But even like the lock-on cycling, which is the first thing we changed, seems to like just mostly be working. I mean, those share a button, that's fair enough. But yeah, that seems to just work. Man, it really is taking me a moment to get used to the whole dashing with the triggers. But yeah, I think it all works, which is weird because I did just change a lot of code and nothing is breaking. Stuff should be breaking. Tentacles remind you of Don't Starve. I'm going to be real. These tentacles are just from the marketplace. And so is that plant, actually. You can probably actually see that the art style is a little different from from the rest of my models. Mainly being more detailed and like less shit. But I wanted some like not quite enemies, but not quite static things to put as hazards into the environment, just as like a part of the design tool toolkit. So I just got these from my marketplace asset. I tweaked them a little bit to fit a bit more with the color palette of the dungeon, but they're pretty ready to go assets, which is fine. Not everything has to be like super handcrafted. A lot of it, obviously, will be and has to be, but pretty much all the visual effects that are in the game right now are marketplace assets as well. Like the slashes are all visual effects, and these guys have modified versions of those same slashes as well. And I have a bunch of like magic spells now with actual visual effects, which again, most of them are marketplace assets. Most of them also are somewhat modified after I downloaded them. If nothing else, just enabling, disabling, tweaking parameters, that kind of stuff, for specific emitters. But yeah, so that code's all working, which is a little surprising. So I guess we we go back to this, because now we get to the fun stuff. So yeah, these, I don't think we need those. This, it's not even blueprint readable, so if I don't use that anyway, it can go. Can open save menu is something that I know that I use, and that is part of the input code. So and that has to remain in public. Finished processing. On attack finished. I think we can fairly safely remove these as well. Kill player. Gonna put that in combat. Think that makes sense, right? Yeah, so this doesn't seem to be necessary, we learned. And I don't think either is this. Movement. Combat. What actually were we putting in? Kill player. Blueprint callable. So we put that in there. I removed every concept of having a ladder. Player damage. I think I still use. Player killed. I might still use. Camera state. I think I do use now. Maybe. I'm still trying to kind of figure out what I'm doing with my gameplay camera system. I tried making a state tree, but I don't think I actually used that. I think I'm just using this, but it does use the camera state, so we're gonna keep that around. But yeah, so where are we gonna put the camera state variable? Because fuck if I know. Is that input? Is that movement? I don't think it's either. That might just kind of hang out outside of a region. Just like where it is now. For the time being, anyway. This can both go into the public variables for combats. Then update last save location. That could either be combat or movement. But that also, I think it's not just combat related, it's also, it keeps track of two variables. One that's just about like being grounded or not. What was the last place that you were on the ground? So I think I'm gonna put that in movement. And I think I'm gonna make that public. Because then I can make this a U function that's blueprint callable. Because that might be nice to be able to do. And then, of course, reset inputs goes into inputs. It's movements. Oh, I didn't get a comment. There we go. This is just a C++ function, which I don't know if it's being called from anywhere else. So we're going to make that private and see if anything has an issue with that. And then we have the camera states. The constructor and camera state both can move up top. I want to say this can go away. Then we have all the components, which we'll deal with in a moment. There's one that I got to remove. I know that much. Constructor, obviously, actually want to have that on top. Doesn't matter that much, but... And this needs to be somewhere in a section that is marked as public. So I'll actually make this private and public, because this probably wants to be public as well. And these all exist with outside here, and these, for the most part, probably can be private as well. Again, we probably need to go through and make at least a handful of these into protected. But as long as nothing is complaining at me, I'm going to keep them as private. Then we have to generate a body, which probably actually is good to... I don't know if it matters that much, but we're going to keep that up top. And then we have all the components. So that is not actually a component. That's a function. Dash particles. We used that, I think. Inventory, yes. Attributes, obviously, yes. Ability system component, yes. Gameplay camera, yes. Lock-on widgets, yes. Weapon component, yes. Default mapping context, yes. Jump action. Okay, so these are no longer components. This one isn't a component either, actually. So let's actually make a... I'm saying actually a lot. You can tell that my brain is kind of like at the end of its day. Because, okay, so we have all these input actions, which I guess we'll just put this into the like input section at the bottom of the file in a moment. Seems to make the most sense to me to do that. The down and up actions can go. And we probably will need to fix a couple of things here. Oh, no, it's the other way around. These four can go, and this is the one that stays. The weapon things don't need to be input actions anymore. Open menu does. Special attack probably doesn't. Yeah, we probably can get rid of that as well. Heal action is going to be a spell. Dash action is a thing to itself. Attack action is more than just attack, but we'll keep it as is. And a move and look action. Jump grace distance, I think I'm doing that differently now. So we can probably get rid of that. Allow jumping, sure. Our jump montage, sure. Our jump action. Are we going to split up our jump input action with the rest of our movement code? Or are we going to put that one input action along with move? I think no. I think this needs to go into the input section. But the jump montage needs to go into the movement section, which is kind of weird. Or I make an animation section, but I think, do I really need that many more animations? Matter of fact, I think I probably don't even need a jump montage value. Because the jump abilities themselves have that just populated with this kind of thing, right? I think maybe not. We'll see. That's gameplay cues, any gameplay abilities, movements. If I just go into double jump, yeah, it just has like a direct reference. It is not using that at all. So yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, so both of these can go. This one wasn't necessary. We agreed. So all this is inputs. Inputs allow jumping. I guess we're gonna count that under input. Attack action, dash action, lock on action, open menu action, cycle lock on. Yeah, all that is inputs. And then we have this child actor component, which we're finally going to get rid of because it's buggy. It's so buggy. Finally changed it around to just being a component, which has its own like set of small issues, but at least it doesn't like infinitely spawn extra swords every so often, just randomly, because that's what the child actor component used to do. That's combat. That's not what I want to put that in. I want to put this in inputs, probably within private vars, honestly. Blueprint read only can be private. Oh no, it's got allow private access. Okay, that is fair enough then. Nothing here needs to be used outside this class, I don't think. And then yeah, so then we just have the AI stimulus and the F name cycle lock on. I don't know why there's an F name for that. Something in here is, oh, that's there. Okay, it's fine. Movements. Just a random ass private hanging out there, sure. Combats. Let's make sure that all these are just like aligned. So that I feel good about myself. Well, that's a lie. I never feel good about myself, but at least feel less shit about myself. All right. So we collapsed the entire file down into regions. In total, only 320 lines. So this header file used to be like 550, I think, an hour ago. And this, we need to remove some stuff from still, but was over 1,000 and is now down to under 750. So yeah, we're doing good, I think. Yeah, so we can just get rid of this because obviously we don't have that ladder stuff anymore, and if we did, we'd probably put that into an ability. So nope. Shift that back over a little. Yep, that's good. Remove some more white space. It's probably good to sort these functions also in the same order as we have them in the header file now. But that's not that big a deal, all things considered. We already have the regions for it, so we're definitely going to do it. is there anything here that I can like split out into different functions? Not really. Not to a productive end, anyway. Obviously, I could just grab some random stuff and make it a function, but that said, this find closest enemy thing seems like maybe it can do with splitting up a little bit. Because it is a pretty big function. But we'll maybe take a look at that some other day, because we are about 2 hours into the stream and my brain is kind of shutting down. It's been a long couple of days. It's been a long fucking 2 months, to be fair with you. Okay, so this is tick. This all probably should be its own function though, because this is checking for the wall hit. So that, yeah, probably good to make that its own function. To do make into, it's bullshit because we can just literally there is a thing that I can do in Rider. Is it context actions? Am I just overlooking like collapse to function? I feel like it would be in refactor, but maybe not. Fairly certain that's supposed to be a thing. Extract method. I think that might be it. Name. Check wall slide. Return type. Doesn't need to return anything. No parameters. Can I just type those in there? Nope. Ideally love to add in delta seconds. Thank you very much. Oh, I actually don't need to, because this is not using any time. No, I don't need to. So yeah, that's just this. Now, we do want to make sure that that actually got put in a sensible location in our newly generated stuff. Because it was put in our combat region. We don't want a combat region. We want that in movement. So that's private functions. Fucking there. You know what the funny thing is? I'm like 80% sure that the jump ability itself also does this. So I think I'm doing this twice. Or maybe not actually. Oh, we have a jump base. Hold on now, I think we are. So setup. Reset gravity. Check for apex of the jump. Oh, this is for the ledge jumping. This is not for wall sliding, I think. Yeah, this is just for the auto jumping. Probably should be done in the jump, to be honest. Kind of feels like that would make sense. I mean, I'm not going to do it now. But this is fine. Maybe. We should just check if we're grounded. So get character movement is falling. Because if we're not falling, we might as well just like instantly return. Because there's no reason at that point to check this. I don't think. So, yeah, that's... Okay, so we had this possessed by, right? Which just set our player weapon player to this. Okay, so first and foremost, player weapon. Oh, yeah, so possessed by can just go. Like, we don't need that at all anymore. All that did is set the weapons reference back to the player. But we're not using that anymore, so bye-bye it goes. And then obviously, yeah, that also makes sense. Weapon of days can also go. Getting close to just 700 lines of code. With also a lot of blank spaces, so the actual code is probably only 500 lines. And some commenting and all that kind of stuff. Before we compile again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to collapse everything in here, and we're going to make those regions in this file as well. And then we'll have done one entire file. Isn't that fun? Only took 2 hours. In all fairness, it is one of the biggest files in the project because it is the player character. Even though the player characters, a lot of stuff has now been sections off into its own objects, dealing with their own stuff, like the whole combo system is more or less dealt with by the combo ability. Jumping is sectioned off into its own separate set of abilities, all that kind of stuff. Still, player character is player character, right? It's gonna be a big file. Reasonably speaking, I think most games probably will be one of the biggest files. As far as raw code goes, obviously, a bunch of like blueprint scripting and stuff will be bigger, but okay, so we have the combats region. Let's make sure that they're in the same order as well. And I'm gonna just put these side by side, just to be sure. So I'm gonna take everything out of this. Gonna put it in there, so that it's outside of that. Now they're all uncollapsed again. That's annoying. I guess it doesn't have a concept of whether or not I copied something collapsed or not. Kind of makes sense because it's just copying raw text. Okay, so this is combat. Which is one of the lower ones. Then we have movement. I have 2 movement sections. That's not ideal. Just take these and put them in this one. Gonna assume that it's fine to put these in there. So this movement section is now just empty, right? Yeah. Get rid of that. Then we have inputs. And components, which I don't think actually probably will have any functions inside of it, but sure. So, probably can just do this kind of by feel. But it might be better to cross-reference with this file so they're in the same section. It's without a doubt better to make sure that they're also in the same order. But that is altogether too much trouble for what I want to do right now. Last save location. You see, that one I think I do want to actually check, because I think I put that in here somewhere. Yeah, so update last save location is in movements. This would be in inputs. It's a small function. Reset combo. I wonder where that's gonna go. I guess I just keep them open because it's gonna be a thing anyway. Update nearby enemies is going to be a huge function. Clear nearby enemies. Obviously, that goes right along with it. Find closest enemy. It's also combat related. The two jump related things, I actually got a real quick check where I put those in this file. That would be in inputs. That's movement, not input. Oh, I just called it movement. Hold on. It doesn't actually matter what you name them, I don't think. Just to prevent confusing myself. New lock on. Combat. Cycle lock on to new is probably combat, but this is probably input. Not sure how I feel about that. Right, if I look at this, it's going to be in... I kind of wish that the Pragma region that you were in also displayed up top here, but yeah, that's in combat. And this is right on top of it. It's also in combat. Okay. Nice. Might make more sense, to be honest, to be an input, but toggle lock on is right under that as well. Sweet. Dash and end dash definitely are part of movement. So let's put those where they belong. And then we have inputs, movements, and movements. So these two are movements. You see, this goes a lot faster. those were movement functions, right? Yeah, so move and jump, I believe those were. Because it's just copy pasting stuff into new locations. And then this is going to go into inputs. So we can remove all this, which somehow removed lines of code. Oh, I just removed two entire functions. Yeah, no, that that would make the file shorter, wouldn't it? Inputs. All right, so then we have check wall slide, which I put in, I guess, movement, right? Yes. So at least this time I can work from like top to bottom. So it's a little easier. To copy paste everything in place. Lock on tick, that's probably in combat, I want to say. Yes. Update lock on is going to go along with that. Is there a like visual for where the regions start on the like little preview scroll thing here? So I don't think there is. There should be. Strikes me as something that might be useful. Because this is just the, yeah, that's just some white space. And where this starts, it doesn't really seem like there's anything going on like visually there, right? Huh, I don't know. So we have start swinging, swing move, and jump. I think all those would be under movement. That would be movement. That might be input actually. That's movement, and jump. Also movement. And then begin, play, and tick can exist outside of those regions, obviously. And kill player is going to go into combats. Now, they're still not ordered in the same order that they are here, but that's also because they're not particularly like sorted in this file. So it's not really that useful to match their order right now. Also need to look at that to do that I just put there. Because this is now in combat and I'm doing movement stuff. You can notice that I'm like absolutely losing my focus. Combat. This is the end of movement. There we go. And then the last function that we move around is going to be kill player, which that is going to go in combat. And we're back to 715, which is about the same size that we were at before. So I think I didn't delete anything by accident. That's what we have version control for, obviously. If I did do anything stupid. Much cleaner file. Constructor, begin play, tick. Yeah, components, obviously, we didn't actually need anything there. And then we just got 3 regions. And that's everything there is to this file. The includes also automatically our region enumerator, which is fantastic. So yeah, this is now my entire player file. Everything can be collapsed down. Everything is fucking sortable and findable and whatever. Again, I would thoroughly enjoy if like scrolling down this line would just stay up top so that I at any time can see what region I'm in. But there might also just be like a way to navigate between regions in a writer that I'm not currently aware of. So let me check that. C sharp. What would writer use than the overuse of regions? I mean, I'm not working C sharp, but I do feel like you're talking about me here. There's a whole like Reddit person like bitching about too many regions. Sure. Yeah, this already. Yeah, you can get a tree view with these regions, but I kind of want to see if there's a way to like easily navigate between regions. While using C++ Pragma region directive, I would expect the region to be reflected in the structure window. As C sharp's hashtag region does, Pragma region does appear supported in code editor view, so writer does organize it functionally, it just doesn't display in the structure view as one would expect. I don't have structure view open, so that might also help, to be fair. Thing that I can open with window. Generally also just good to be able to like jump around easily. How do you open that? Control Alt and T. Nope. View tool windows structure. Window and view are two different things. Okay. Tool windows structure Alt 7. Okay. So I mean that's good having that, to be fair. Still, we very much like this to indeed be split up by their regions. It was a feature request a year ago. But I guess this is good enough because I can just, like, at a glance, this is fine if you're working with like huge files. $4 months ago, it says that it has it now. Yet for me, it doesn't. Maybe I just need to update my rider router. It says 2125.2. Yeah, I might just need to update to get that then, if it's a fairly recent thing. Anyway, doesn't like actually matter at all. 2025.2. Can I quickly see which version of Rider I am using? I'll just check that at a later date. I think we're gonna head out of here for now, because I'm getting distracted with side quests that don't matter. But before we do that, hold on. Before we do any of that, let's save everything that we did in Blueprint. Let's see if I broke anything, because there's every chance that I did. Something somewhere probably is trying to now access something private. I am amazed that nothing is breaking due to, like... Yeah, okay. Being private instead of protected. Then again, I guess the Blueprint Reflection can access private stuff, even though it's technically a child class, because it's also technically like not actually a child class, it's an asset. Or some like technical loophole like that. So I guess doesn't need to be protected if you're going to be making something Blueprint, maybe? I think for it to be Blueprint exposed, it needs to be public anyway. I don't know. I'm just kind of talking out my ass. Okay, there's a couple of things that are errored out. Let's see if they are important. There's a bunch of things that are supposed to use weapon. Yeah, so this vanish effect, no. Unfinished possess. Ooh, that might be relevant. I guess we'll see. I don't think it necessarily has to be. Because I think it also just auto-activates, so probably is fine. This is show weapon and event view weapon. Just gonna, for the time being, make those empty functions. Then we have the gameplay ability for teleport attack, which I need to, like, at some point rework this entire thing anyway, so like super doesn't matter. Let's just add a comments in here to do clear hit enemies array on player. I'm not sure that this is going to be a ability that we actually like stick around with necessarily either. So, hey, how about you don't call me at like 9 p.m. Oh, who the fuck you are? Yeah, so this is weapon, like making the weapon vanish. Again, we'll just, in the dash, we'll just kind of ignore that being a thing. We also probably just need to collapse some of this into a function because I have a bunch of places where I'm setting the visibility on the mesh and the mask of the player at the same time. You can just propagate the children, I guess, but I want the but I want the weapon to show up with a particle effect, but not always. Sometimes it's fine to pop back into existence. Yeah, that's probably something we'll do like on Friday. If I remember that I set that by the time it's Friday, which I probably won't. There's one of those things that's probably going to take like another 4 months for me to actually get around to to fixing. Get weapon again. This place, the swings. Oh yeah, that's a thing. So I still was using the weapon to actually play the swing sound. I think we don't have a sword swing sound now. Right? No, we do. That seems pretty much fine to me. But this, yeah, we've got like fucking 4 swords. This is why I didn't want to have the child actor component anymore, because it sucks. It's really buggy. Even Epic is like, you probably don't use it if you don't have to. But largely, it seems like nothing like majorly broke. Like this. Yeah. I mean, I died because I'm bad at my own game. But everything seems to work. So yeah, that's been it. There's a little bit of a slow start back to my, I was going to say weekly. Well, I guess it is weekly. It's bi-weekly, twice a week. Bi-weekly is one of those weird words that can mean twice a week or once every 2 weeks, which is like, that's 4 times as often or not often, right? It's a weird word. So slow start back to my streaming schedule. I'll be back on Friday again. Probably doing a little bit more extra code refactoring. I don't know what we're going to be doing once some of the code has been a little bit more cleaned up. Again, the project's not in a phase where I'm actively like working on a lot of stuff. I'm tinkering still with the boss fight to the current dungeon, which I want to get like kind of done up this month. I've been playing a lot of extra like Hollow Knight. Just fighting bosses in that game to see how they deal with bosses. I've been playing some Kingdom Hearts again, seeing how they deal with bosses, kind of just like taking inspiration from a bunch of different games, seeing how different games like handle bosses and that kind of stuff. Because what I kind of found is that Kingdom Hearts bosses are kind of like super passive, where while playing Silksong does this even more than Hollow Knight. I realized once going back to Hollow Knight to test it out. Bosses in those games are effectively always attacking. They have small rooms of like small windows for you to attack them. again, Hollow Knight does this more, where they just have a window for you to attack while they're not doing anything. But especially the further into the game you get, the more what you end up doing is finding windows within the boss's attack where it is safe to attack him, rather than windows between the attacks. And again, Silksong does this a lot more. If you've played Silksong, which by now, if you have, hopefully, to a certain degree. There's one specific boss fight that really did this. It's Widow, about halfway through the game, roughly, I would say, if you're just playing Act 1 and 2. That boss just doesn't stop attacking, and the only moments that you can attack it back is during attacks. There's windows open to attack, like while you're also dodging, which makes it a very difficult fight. A lot of people have trouble with that fight, I expect, for that reason. Something which was like super like speedy attack in Hollow Knight just becomes kind of required in some Silksong fights. I don't want to have that. But my game being three-dimensional, it's different, obviously. It's also a bit more hack and slashy, a little less Soulsy. It's still a bit Soulsy, I guess, but yeah. So I'm tinkering with that boss as well. So maybe like next week we'll be tinkering with that boss a little on stream. It's one of those things where I end up working on these things for an hour at a time, because just sitting down an entire day and working on it proves to not be like super productive generally. So we'll see. Anyway, see ya.